2 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
And are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are tuned into Black Westchester Presents, the People Before Politics radio show. We are on every Sunday, 6 to 8, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I am your host, AJ Woodson. My partner in crime, Damon K. Jones, might not be on tonight. He might surprise us and pop in. I'm not sure. We got my brother from another, Dr. Bob, in the house. What's happening, my brother?
Wow, I look real. I'm good, AJ. How are you this evening?
Okay.
Yeah, taking up a lot of the screen there. I like a.
Nah, that's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. Yo, just a quick note to the people. Where we are, I'm just almost finishing up the commemorative issue celebrating the life and legacy of longtime Democratic leader Reginald A. Lafayette, known the most as Reggie or Mr. Chairman. It's been a hard. We like I said last week, the issue was already almost done, ready to go to the printer last Monday when it came out Tuesday. But then we heard of the untimely death of Reggie, and Damon and I decided to dedicate the cover to him and a portion of the publication, and it's full of quotes from those who knew and loved him the most. You know, I could have wrote a lot of words about him, but I wanted to let those people that knew him most speak in their own words about Reggie. So we have a lot of quotes and pictures and good stuff like that. Should be a collector's item. It should hit the streets the end of the week, which will be timely because they will be sending him off over the weekend at Macedonia, and I think they're having a viewing. You know how they do with congressmen? They have a viewing, like they call it in-state at the Capitol. I think they're doing something like that at City Hall on Saturday. So Friday night, I guess they'll have the initial homegoing, and then they'll have the in-state type of viewing in City Hall, and then they'll have another homegoing at Sunday, both at Macedonia Baptist Church on 9th Avenue, Reverend Darren Morton church. So, so it's working hard, working a lot on that. What you get ready to say? Yes.
Let me just share the program then. Okay, so everyone can see.
No problem.
Well, you could continue to talk. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I was waiting for you to pop up. Yeah, and So we're putting that together. That should come out sometime the end of the week, and we're still on schedule back to back with our commemorative issue dedicated to Black-owned businesses. It's called Black to Business for February, celebrating Black History Month. I think that's the best way of celebrating Black History Month. We try to be a little different by highlighting and spotlighting as many of our Black-owned businesses in Westchester County and Westchester County and the surrounding area. Here is this the flyer for Mr. Lafayette's homegoing celebration, as you see. Thank you, Dr. Bob.
Yes. So it's actually at least 2 days, Thursday and Friday.
Okay. So what part is the City Hall? That's not on there?
Friday, yes. So Friday, Reggie's remains will be laying in state in the City Hall Rotunda from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. That's Friday, January 28th, from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. in the City Hall Rotunda in Roosevelt Plaza, the main governmental complex in Mount Vernon.
Okay, and then the funeral is at Macedonia. I can't read the flyer clearly.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I can see it on my screen. Okay. Then Friday the viewing will be at the flyer I had was different. It had one before and one after. Maybe this is a newer flyer.
Hopefully I'm not giving out bad information, but this is the flyer
but the other flyer there was like a celebration at Macedonia, then a viewing at City Hall, and then a celebration again like on Sunday or something. But maybe they revised it, so maybe this is the newest one.
Well, and I also urge our listeners to just periodically check on the Black Westchester page to see for updates.
Absolutely, that's what's up. That's what's up. Let me see if I can do that. Share screen. Let's see if I can pull this up real quick. And I want to share.
Give me a moment, please.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I hadn't planned on doing this, so I just wanted to see if I can do it real quick. I wanted to share the cover of the newspaper for people to see it, if I could. Okay, so let's see if we can do this. Go back. Bear with us. Again, I did not plan on doing this, but Dr. Bob gave me the idea, so it's his fault. Okay, share. Nope, that didn't work.
AJ, send it to me. Send it to me via text and I'll share it.
Okay, let's do that. Remove. So yes, we're going to be doing let me remove that, thank you. And add Dr. Bob again. Yeah, so the paper will be out this week. Sharing the cover with Dr. Bob so he can pull it up on the screen. Since he seems to be able to do that, he's been a share screen person lately.
One small thing, AJ.
Yeah, he's Mr. Share the Screen. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting this issue out for the people. I think it'll be a great issue. And there's a lot of love shown to Mr. Lafayette. A lot of love. Okay, I just texted you just now. Yeah, a lot of love shown to Mr. Lafayette. Let me pull this off. Stop that. And Bob will pull that up, and then we're going to get into our guest. You got it, Bob? Yes, here it goes. So this, just for everybody, this is the issue that's coming out this week, the end of this week, celebrating the life and legacy of Mr. Lafayette. And without further ado, let me our guest. How are you, sir?
I'm quite well, thank you.
Do me a favor, say your last name. That's the reason I didn't introduce you. I didn't want to mess up your last name.
Quiros, Luis Quiros.
Okay. Welcome to the show, my brother. Welcome to the show. So I know you have been in contact with Damon. I think he's working tonight, and I don't think he's going to be on. He's been working a lot of overtime. There's some issues going on in Mamaroneck that you wanted to highlight and bring to light. So I'm going to let you just start off and kick it off and tell us about what's going on in Mamaroneck.
Thank you, AJ, Dr. Bob, and Damon.
It's a pleasure to be with you, brother.
Thank you. And a little edit, AJ, in what you indicated. What's happening in Mamaroneck is not unique to Mamaroneck. It's
not at all.
Not at all. It's all over the United States. Yeah. It's all over counties and villages where there's an abundance of elite people that want to keep it elite. And the constitution of these places is the gentleman's agreement, where white men mostly control the power, and behind the scenes, they decide and make policies in a way that they can get away because they're not legal. And we have police departments that are corrupt, and the village of Mamaroneck is one of them, not unique. It's morally corrupt, which if it's morally, any institution that's morally corrupt automatically affects the economics of that community. Morality transfers itself to economic disasters for middle class and below the middle class, which is an indication why Westchester County has the highest tax rate in the nation. Morality equals deficits, financial deficits for people like us.
So tell me a little bit, when people think of Westchester County, outside of Westchester County, they think of one of the most wealthiest counties. A lot of people in a lot of areas in Westchester County don't want to admit to things like racism and discrimination and homelessness exist, but it does go on in this county. And you hear us talk about a lot of other cities, Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, Yonkers, Greenburgh, a lot of the cities in Westchester, but you never hear much about Mamaroneck. So that's what piqued my interest. Like, people wouldn't think, oh, not Mamaroneck.
Yeah, well, yes, Mamaroneck. I grew up in Harlem. There was like literally the first 25 years of my life, a few years in Puerto Rico when I was a kid also. But without a doubt, what resonated with me, that growing up in Harlem, I never even thought I could even move to Westchester. It was like, no show, don't even think about it. That's what happens when you're a kid. And let me be clear about growing up in Harlem. I would not have wanted to be born anyplace else but in Harlem, and I still frequent Harlem. And I'm more fearful of walking in areas like certain areas of Mamaroneck and Scarsdale than I am. I've walked the streets of Harlem when I was a kid at 2 and 3 in the morning. I still have no fear. So I love Harlem. Great place to visit, great place to go. The gentrification hurts, but certainly while living there, I grew up in ways that kids born in Harlem will never experience. And most of the pain that our young people are going through is because they grew up and with the lack of what it is to be in Harlem and experience the culture. I actually saw Malcolm X walk the streets a few times. I saw Martin Luther King enter Riverside Church, the whole ceremony when he was there. I saw many. I saw Marvin Gaye before he knew he was Marvin Gaye. You know, at the Apollo. You know, I've seen so much, and I take so little for granted.
Right.
Beautiful
So,
place, Harlem.
so let's talk about the lawsuit that you currently have now.
Yeah. Well, since I'm an advocate for the school district, I've run for school board a few times, always lost, but my platform has always succeeded in being implemented. For example, running for school board, I advocated for the translating memos into Spanish for the numerous amount of Spanish people in the community. So a lot of things happen, but when you have a school board, the driving power is not only the school board itself, the school district and the school board, but the police department always gets involved. So I was known in the district for being an advocate an advocate for Black and brown people in the school in the village of Mamaroneck district. And about 12, 13 years ago, while sitting in my car, I can keep you here for hours letting you know incidents that would never happen to any white person. While sitting in my car, literally in front of a house, my house, I was arrested and charged with being suspicious and spent quite a number of hours in jail, quite uncomfortably handcuffed to a wall, which eventually ended up hurting my back because I was so uncomfortably stuck to the wall. And you know, things like that happen, and that was for being suspicious. And they asked me while I was being arrested, they asked me, why am I close to a high school? I live around the corner from the high school, Mamaroneck High School. And they could have checked by my car, but the license plate was specific. It was the name of my first book. It catches my license plate and other plates I've had, but they could have checked my license plate and checked that the person in the car in front of the house is me. But they arrested me.
They arrested you for being close to a school
and being suspicious
in front of your house.
In front of my house, literally.
Okay.
My car was in front of the house. And it continued from there. I was harassed for years after that. And then as being a crossing guard and a park ranger, I would get tickets while on duty for parking my car on Mamaroneck Avenue and not putting quarters in the meter or not parking it someplace else. So I ended up working below minimum wage because in the 10, 12, who knows how many times I had to go to court to fight the meter ticket. Or even if you put money in the meter, you got to change it after it expires. By the time I calculated going to court and fighting the ticket, I was working below minimum wage, and I would not pay it. I would not pay the fine, but then that would allow them to get away with it. They can do stuff like that. And I was the only one out of all the park rangers or crossing guards that got ticketed. I would get ticketed for things like a U-turn that was not made and not a U-turn, and and that because it affected my license, I had to go to Brooklyn to file a report that fighting the guilty plea, the guilty decision by the judge. And I said, I'm not guilty for that. Take a look at the film. I would not even that was not a U-turn, and that is not the U-turn where the cop said I made it, and I had pictures of it. And sure enough, the appellate division and the Supreme Court reversed the decision. But this takes hours and days to do, and money, and it's a hassle. And then as a park ranger, I had Mexicans that were playing soccer on Harbor Island, and I was told if 4 Mexicans, literally with the word Mexicans, are playing soccer, they need a permit to play. However, if it's white people playing soccer at Harbor Island, they require a ticket after 10 people are playing. So if you're a Mexican or brown, that's 4. And if you're white, 10, the 11th person would require the ticket. I mean, it's insane. And as a park ranger, since I have access to the police car and the radio, I would hear all these crimes being committed, and taking bikes and people running away. And they would say, oh, a Mexican or Latino took the bike and he drove away and he shoveled the bike. And I would say to my commander, how do they know they're Latino? Why did they use Latino? Why are they profiling? They couldn't absolutely not see them in a car or drive by or do anything like that. What made them Latino? So racial profiling is systemic.
Dr. Bob, go ahead. You have a question.
Yes. So Luis, before we get into any of the specific details of the case, I think it would be helpful to all of us, both the host and also our listeners, to get some necessary background. So firstly, it seems like the driving force behind your experiences is the transformation in the demographic makeup of the city of Mamaroneck. I'm looking at the, although the perception may be that Mamaroneck is a majority white town in Westchester County, I'm looking at the census report, and it actually indicates that Mamaroneck is now comprised of 25% of Latinos. So over recent years, perhaps decades, we've seen a significant growth in the Latino population of Mamaroneck, and that has increased tensions between new Latino arrivals and established white residents, I guess.
Yes. And that's and Dr. Bob, if I could call you that,
sure.
They basically all live in the same place. This is not a melting pot. This is far from that. And they all mostly live in an area that when there's a heavy drizzle, they all flood. You know, they're all by the train station, all segregated, and all go to a certain elementary school where that's predominantly Latino, Black and brown.
Okay, so like so many other municipalities in Westchester across the United States, where you have a large multiracial population, there is a pattern of racial segregation that you've witnessed over the course of your residency in Mamaroneck. Yeah. Let me ask you a question, Luis. I see one of our regular listeners, Patty Duke, greeted you as Professor Quiros, so that gives an opportunity for us to ask to provide some information about your professional background. AJ told me that you're also a published author, and I see in the background you have the titles of 2 of your most recent books. I know Justice Unplugged, and I recognize the cover. The other one I forgot is something other. You'll forgive me. Can you
Another's Mind. It's called An Other's Mind. How others, the 3 of us, we are defined as others in this country.
Right. And so how did you come to be an author? What's your professional background? Why you're obviously a professor somewhere?
Yeah, well, growing up in Harlem, which is why it's important for me to have started in Harlem, or Harlem, without me knowing, made me a community organizer. How else do you live there if you're not organized, if you get involved? And certainly on the west side of 125th Street, where I grew up literally on 125th Street, literally. And when you have Columbia University and a lot of white people uh, living in there and dominating the neighborhood and gentrifying it, you find out how much you're not welcome there, and how difficult life could be. So without knowing I was a community organizer, I ended up joining protests and seeing me and a lot of people in during the month of August go to pharmacies to get air conditioning and sitting out in the stoop in August when the heat was hard and was hot, and seeing police and dogs come by chasing us off the stoop. So I grew up in a violent area. I grew up before 1954. By the time 1954 came around, I was already 9 years old. I was already in second grade. And my mother fought a lot in telling me about the reality of this country. My mother from Puerto Rico, telling me how sad this is in this country, that people always assumed she was on welfare and demonized us. So how else do you not fight back? So I learned to fight back. I learned to collect bottles. I mean, if it wasn't for bottles, I wouldn't have got out of college or starved a lot. So we learned to survive. Only later, and then I ended up I didn't go to college to get a job. I went to college to find out what all this nonsense exists. I ended up getting a college degree. I went to NYU for a master's in social economics, public policy, the Wagner School of Public Administration. I went on to get my master's, another degree at Hunter in community organizing. I took doctoral courses at Union Theological Seminary on ethics and Protestant movement. I taught at Fordham University and another university for over 25 years, graduate school and undergraduate schools, and how to be social workers. I do this for a living. It's my life. It's all I do. It's 24/7 for me. I don't want to do anything. I can't do anything. I'm not qualified to do anything else but help all of us.
Well, we certainly understand, Brother Quiros, because I feel the exact same way. Some of us are called, and this is what we do. So eventually, though, after a long journey, you relocate to Mamaroneck. When was that, and did that mark your introduction to some of the?
I would say about 45 years ago.
That was 45 years ago?
Yeah, okay. I've been living in between Larchmont and Mamaroneck for 45 years. Mm-hmm. And I've been a participant in the community, helping coach kids in soccer and baseball, and making sure the academics of the school district for people like us, like me, are taken care of, and stop dumping us into special ed courses, and stop keeping us from advanced placement courses. I guess I would call it a nuisance. People, you tell me, can I allude to it? Do I have to be so blunt? You can't allude to injustices. Allude. At the beginning of your program had the ballot and the bullet back to 1964 when I got out of high school. Malcolm X didn't allude. As a matter of fact, when Malcolm X was killed on that Sunday, I believe it was a Sunday, I was there. I was by coincidence, I was coming out of medical center because I'm also asthmatic. Another thing that I could touch upon with racism, and I was there when that horrible day. I was waiting for the number 4 bus. So I have the history in my blood that a lot of my own kids can't fathom how precious it is and how much it made me, and how much of where they go wrong is because of being colonized here in a village and a county that is dysfunctional. To think like this is dysfunctional, and to try to justify it demonizes it.
So you had a long history of involvement in Mamaroneck for your more than 4 decades of residency. You've done a lot of community work, but I get the sense that what brought you to the attention of the establishment and authorities is your criticism of public education policy and practices that you've seen in the city. Why don't you tell us about some of the main problems that you've raised objections to with respect to the treatment of Latinos by the Mamaroneck public education system?
Well, the school board, my son, my middle child, Jeffrey, was in the comics, and he was really bright and very popular, and he was a president of the middle school. A great baseball player, just popular. He was like a stud, if I can use that word, and I hate that word, but lack of time, we gotta get to the point here.
Neither AJ or I are gonna confess that, you know, we wish we regularly refer to it.
Yeah. So he was selected to be part of the selection committee for the next superintendent. So they interviewed a few individuals, and toward the end there were two people selected that were competing. They got rid of everybody else. But the last two people, I think one of them was Paul Freed, and the other one was a black individual. And my son, when they went around the table to decide what his recommendation would be for a superintendent, he picked the black applicant. And the entire committee, you know, talked him out of it. They started telling him by this other white person, and he was better qualified, and why the black person wasn't. And he felt very uncomfortable about, you know, but at that age and as a middle school student, that kind of power was too much for him. And he came back very disappointed at home. And he said, "Dad, I wanted the black individual was so much better." So, you know, it's so many stories like this. And he was not selected, and the white person was. There's many stories like this. And again, the abuses of who goes into special ed. There's no doubt at Mamaroneck High School, like at a lot of other high schools in Westchester, the best recruit for WCC, Westchester Community College, I believe in community colleges, was Mamaroneck High School, because that's where all the black and Latino kids went. They sent them to Mamaroneck High School. All the other kids that were not as bright ended up going to prestigious schools. So, you know, we're a great recruit for community colleges. And I'm not against them, but damn, the pattern is sickening.
So, and so, Luis, what specific claims are you bringing against the Mamaroneck Board of Education as part of your ongoing lawsuit that you filed?
The lawsuit avoids the public school education strictly for the police department, who I worked for.
Okay.
My paycheck at the crossing guard and the park ranger comes from the police department.
I want to be clear. I want to be clear about that too. So you were being, for lack of a better word, harassed by the police department. You were getting tickets from the police department while doing your job. And
right.
Your check comes from the police department. So there's no way that the police department did not know who you were.
Oh, no, they knew who I was.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like you were just a random person they were pulling over, or a random person they were giving a ticket to.
No, they knew.
It comes from the police department, and it's the police department where your check comes from that you were getting all these tickets and being arrested by.
Yeah, AJ, that's a very critical clarification that you're making. Unfortunately, it's always unfortunate when people get killed, you know, in any way. But recently we had a killing with gunfire in the Bronx. And one police officer was killed. I'm not sure what condition the second one is in. Hopefully he survived, and I hope. But I was called for retaliation and harassment and even age discrimination because I'm 76 years old. It's not like I can park my car anyplace else and walk, blocks and blocks to pick it up. It's hard to survive 4 hours standing up in the sun without air conditioning. And if I take a break for 5 minutes, they're taking pictures of me saying, "See, I left my spot for 5 minutes," because they take pictures of me while I'm working. But here's the point that you're bringing up that I also want people to acknowledge. I'm supposed to be a family member of the police department at the crossing guard. The only thing that makes me different from a police officer crossing people and doing the job at the crossing guard sometimes is that I don't have a gun. That's the only reason. And you don't need a gun to cross people. So the way I view it is that we're the same. So when we talk about the family, the police department, my life is at risk as it is with a police officer, because certainly we have all heard of cars that go through the traffic, go through people, they run over people, they become chaotic. So I'm risking my life also, and they don't care. And I was targeted. It was retaliation. The court called it also age discrimination. They called it freedom, denied my freedom of speech for protecting people from going to court. They got me for everything, and I could not tolerate it. The blue family is white. As people know, there is no blue family here. This gentleman's agreement decides who is part of the family and who is not. Somebody goes into a police department, choose the police precinct up. I was part of the 26th precinct on 125th Street. That was the precinct I reported to if I had to report there, and I did a couple times. When you go into police department, somebody goes and starts shooting. If they kill the receptionist, the family mourns. It's an attack on the police department. Yet I was exiled as a member of the police department. I did not qualify to be a member of the police department, though I was bilingual, though I helped a lot of Latinos cross the street, though I put my life online, since a lot of times car would go beyond the red light or the stop sign, and I would push the pedestrian out of the way, putting my life at risk. I am not a member of the same police department and police commissioner that I report to. Other people are. So unless you believe with them, I'm an other. With them, I am useless. I am demonized. I am punished. I am exiled. And yet, I don't have access to a 911 number. You think if I had an emergency that I'm going to call 911? The last thing I want near this house is a police officer. So it has a lot of implications here.
That says a lot. So what was you've been dealing with retaliation and all of this for a while. What was the straw that broke the camel's back that made you bring a lawsuit against the village of Mamaroneck?
Well, who else can I go? I go to the top. A lot of the police officers are corrupt in the village of Maron. They need a reorganization. One of the defendants in the case is the present commissioner. She was my supervisor, Sandra DeRusso. She was my supervisor, and she was a lieutenant. And then then because I also included the police commissioner, he ended up resigning. And this person, Sandra DeRusso, who barely has a community college degree. She has no courses in diversity, no courses in social justice, no courses in morality. She is nothing. She barely has a community college. They took this defendant in my case and made her the police commissioner. Now I'm advocating to get her thrown out. She doesn't belong there. She was given that position without even being on the civil service list. This is horrible. This has to stop. How can you have such an uneducated, uninformed person at police who's also a defendant on this? What's it tell you about the village of Mamaroneck? It tells you that they don't care about the social state of affairs in this country and in New York. And I'll tell you something else that's important, and I've written this clearly in all my books and when I teach it. The way the public school goes, so will this nation. There is nothing in this nation that's malice that first didn't come out from public schools. Segregation, Brown versus the Board of Ed, civil rights, all the crimes committed in schools, the curriculums that are corrupt, that are whitewashed. The way public schools go, so will this nation.
We have a question. Did Mamaroneck have a police reform task force under the state order of former Governor Cuomo? I think all
of them did, but this comes later. This comes much later.
Okay.
But let's get something straight. I'm trying to control my language here. I don't know what white people mean by reform. I don't know what politics by they mean the reform. And I don't know what they mean by having the committees and an investigate themselves and say we're working on it. You know, it's reform. And I say this clearly, the Reconstruction hasn't ended yet. White people say when something starts, so white people say that the Reconstruction started 1867, I guess, right after the Civil War, and it ended in 1877. Only white people could say that. The Reconstruction has not finished yet. It's still alive and well.
Dr. Bob?
I think Brother Lewis's comments have spoken for themselves.
What would you like to see as a result of this lawsuit? What would you like to come about?
Well, I would like to see in the village of Mamaroneck the Black Westchester magazine and other media detail and blast the expelling the police commissioner in the village of Mamaroneck and restructuring it and getting it has to send a message that it cannot just hire this type of police commissioner, because it would be anything other than that is a band-aid, and send a message to all the police departments in the area and in Westchester County and in Putnam and across the state that this case is untold. It cannot be good. There are not many of us that can take the time out and have the formal education to fight this. When we get when we go beyond, when it takes somebody that's lived in a house that they're not supposed to own and is out of his lane, people have asked me to move out. And because they say, well, if you don't like it, why don't you move out? Because if I move out, white people win. I'm staying here and hoping for my next black and brown neighbor. If I move out, it takes too long to find people that refuse to admit that this is my lane, this is my street, and I am not moving out. I can live close to the water. I can own a house. I'm allowed to, and I will. And it's a struggle. I'll tell you both. It's not easy paying these taxes, especially when I'm not getting the services. These taxes are high here, and I have to come up with the money because I can't leave. I do not get the attention and the services that I get from what I pay here. but I've got to stay here for the others.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about your book, Justice Unplugged. I noticed when I was reviewing it, your foreword was by a good friend of mine, Bob Maron, wrote the
Oh
foreword.
yeah, Bob Maron. Yeah. He stated it clear. He said I'm a problem, but you should listen to me.
Yeah.
I had a show also on that program.
Oh, you was on WVOX for a while.
Yeah, for about a year and a half, and the white people would call me an anarchist. They complained to the owner of the show to get me off it. I shouldn't be on it. Yeah, I've been, I'm educated, so I know my freedom of speech, and I dare you to kick me out for what I say. So
yeah, they do have
very Republican, white, unfriendly group of people. And matter of fact, after my book came out, AJ, if you ever speak to Bob Maron,
yes.
when my book came out, and because his forward was there, I never saw him again. He left the station, and I always wonder if, because of his forward and what I wrote, if they got rid of him. But that could be a rule.
No, he went on to start his own thing, Radio Westchester.
I know, but what a timing.
Yeah.
That's what he has to say.
Yeah, I'll ask him about that next time we speak.
Yeah,
I will definitely
cover the mic.
I do want to say they gave us we have a show on there too, the Black Westchester Power Hour.
I know you do.
And you can tell by some of the listeners we are not their average average programming on there, but
yeah, I know you're out of your way.
They do allow us to be us, though. They don't censor us, and we bring our particular brand of programming over there, which is probably different than anything else they have. But they allow us to be us, and that I appreciate, because you can tell,
AJ.
all the TVs are on Fox News and stuff. You can tell, the audience, and some of the callers that call in, you can tell who the audience is.
Yeah, AJ, they don't allow you. They have to. Once you're in, they have to. If they didn't keep you off from the beginning,
they invited us. They didn't have to do that. They offered us a show. They didn't have to do that.
Yeah. So I'm sure we made it easy for each other. I'm sure both of us had a lot to do with it. But nevertheless, that's what I do, and Westchester is not the only place I wrote that I protest at.
Talk a little bit about the book, Justice Unplugged. What's that about?
Yeah, Justice Unplugged. I have chapters where I blame the universities as an accomplice for the disasters of this nation. That the universities are a major accomplice to why this nation is not a United States. And I was asked by the newspapers, New York Times, and the Journal News, back in 1999, to give my reflection on the new century. And I said we'd be lucky if there's the United States 20 years from now. And during my classes at in the universities, we would talk about ethnic statistics and the groups of people and what would be the dominant language 20 years from now or 50 years from now. I said, what makes you think the United States is going to be around 50 years from now? This country, and this is before COVID, it's under lockdown. And there's no democracy here. So Justice Unplugged talked a lot of pages on the fake democracy, the falsehood in history. There is no the Reconstruction. And let me mention something super important. My mentor that taught me how to understand history was Dr. John Hope Franklin. He was like a father to me for the last 15 years of his life. I went around with him with his lectures and things that he gave. I brought him to Mamaroneck to talk to the high school students. He gave me a lot of his papers that he wrote for Clinton and other presidents. Dr. John Hope Franklin. I mean, it's sad, but most people, students, don't even know who he is. You know, unbelievable what he's written with Black history and all his editions, and he got every major medal that the United States could ever give to any civilian.
One of the things I noticed is a subject that we've covered. I've talked to Senator Schumer when he was here, and Mark, who was a reporter for LoHUD, who's now with the Post. He wrote about it, but and this struck me. The containment of Black and brown and the building of the Cross Bronx Expressway. Robert Moses' vision to build a racial empire and put us in lockdown while living like an emperor.
After he did, I think there's a book that came out, The Power, I forgot the name of Power, the name Power is in it, where the Cross Bronx Expressway divided the half and half nots intentionally. It was segregated. Right. I'm trying to think of the name of that book. The Power Brokers. Yeah, that's the name of it. The Power Brokers from the corruption of New York State and Robert Moses and Albany is sick. You know, it's horrible. You know, don't get me started on Albany. You know, but it's sad. I mean, the Power Brokers, the Tammany Hall. When I went to graduate school, in my class on social policy and economics with the commissioner, with the police commissioner, also known as Batman. You know, I was in the class with him and understanding the political and the police power in New York City and its family, but they take who family is, and that was before the Knapp Commission. You know, the Knapp Commission was the Serpico thing. You know, it's ridiculous. I mean, but I was born before all of this thing happened. I was part of it. When I drove up 95, Mamaroneck wasn't even on the map yet. You know? I saw the second layer of the GW Bridge built. You know, so these are all kids miss.
So one of our listeners wants to know two things. What specifically drove you to the lawsuit? What specifically is the lawsuit about? I think we still haven't covered exactly what the lawsuit is about. Well,
it's about my freedom. It's about my freedom of speech. But if it's mine, that means everybody. It means about reshaping the police department. It's about you can't do this stuff. You can't pick and choose who gets the Bill of Rights. You can't pick and choose who's a person. You cannot pick and choose who should be demonized. You can't judge a book by its cover. I certainly don't dress or look like a professor or an author, right? I dress and walk around like I always did my whole life in Harlem or whatever. You know, I am who I am.
So what stage is the lawsuit at now?
Well, the courts gave a mandate, which is why I send it to you guys.
Right.
That on March 16th, they're supposed to be, the court is demanding a settlement session. And if not, we go to trial.
Right. So they try to get it dismissed.
That's the last step.
Yeah, they tried to get it. They tried to get it dismissed unsuccessfully, and this is what the judge ruled.
And it's taken a long time in answering those stupid requests to dismiss. They can't dismiss it. I've got over 400 pictures, or over 200 pictures of what they did, what they did. You know, I got pictures, and I got facts. Go ahead, Dr.
Luis, when did you first file the suit so we could have a better sense of how long it's actually?
I think it goes back to 2017 or late 16.
Okay.
It goes back quite a while. And I also filed it when I was arrested in front of my house and that goes back to 2012. You know, it just keeps accumulating. You know, I just keep adding additions to it.
So the main impetus for you filing this suit was the systematic harassment you were subject to by the Mamaroneck Police Department.
Yeah. You know, the first time I filed it, I was standing on Mamaroneck Avenue at the crossing guard, and over 20 motorcycles appeared, drove up Mamaroneck Avenue and stared at me at the corner that I was standing, staring at me. And then they drove away. Once in a while in Mamaroneck, because I'm still a crossing guard, police cars, they look like the what do you call that? During the Chaplin, what kind of those Keystone cops? You know, they look ridiculous. They come in sirens, going here, going there, trying to intimidate me. You know, I don't know where the hell they're going. They're all going in different directions. And they stop by me. I park my car, and there's one behind me. You know, the intimidation is heavy, but that ain't gonna do it. You know, I'm not gonna be intimidated. I don't care what they do. You know, and if anything happens to me, I already told my kids it's not an accident. They don't grow up in 125th Street, and all of a sudden it's an accident and you're not around anymore. Yeah.
Someone asked the motorcycles, were those police motorcycles or just like a motorcycle group or something?
Motorcycle group.
Okay.
A motorcycle group with you know, who the hell knows that? You know, I laugh at stuff like that. You know, I say, you gotta be kidding.
One of our listeners, Michelle Brown, said she is just so in awe of your tenacity that, you know, no matter what, you're not going to give up. You're continuing to fight this regardless of what you're going through. You know.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. And I'll tell you, it's not easy, but we got to do it. And tenacity is what we need. It's not about us. It's not about Michelle. It's not about me. It's not about everybody that I can see now on this screen. It's about those of us that are in the womb of a mother and for the future. It's not about me.
Absolutely. Any last words? Anything we didn't ask you want the people to know about the book? First off, where can people buy your books? Where are your books? Is there a website? Huh? Yeah,
it's on. If they Google my name, they can get it. But it's also on Amazon and a lot of other places. You know. But I also want to say something as I'm closing up. AJ and Dr. Bond and Damon, Damon and I have done demonstrations, have done things together many times. We're brothers, and we have started a lot of action in a lot of different places. I think it's important to know that you're the only media so far that has interviewed me. The Journal News won't write it. The Westchester won't write it. Channel 12 doesn't want to talk about it. It's the tenacity and the courage that you've shown in covering me is paramount and important to the fight. So you're also part of this. I called Channel 12 and they refused, and now one of the board members is a guy who's Joe, forgot his name already, who is a known newscaster. So I'm sure they're kicking out a lot of media. The board is working heavy to deny the media from coming in here.
Michelle, what can people do to help you in your fight?
Well, first of all, call it our fight, and then bother the newspapers and hold them accountable. Why is this not being covered? If I didn't call you, you wouldn't even know about it.
Absolutely, yeah. Damon, you and Damon were in touch, and Damon told me about it because I did not know anything about this.
Yeah, Damon and I go back over 15 years. I mean, we've been involved in a lot of stuff. Why is this such a secret?
If people want to reach you, is there a website or social media? How can people reach you?
They can. I have an email address. I'm also a social worker. Justice Unplugged at gmail.com. It's one word, Justice Unplugged at gmail.com. They can contact me there, or they can also, they can contact there, or they can. I have no problem in giving them my number on my cell. Which can I give it to you now over the phone?
If you want to, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. 914-320-1791. 914-320-1791. And I also have another email address, LQUIROS, which is my last name, at MSW, because I have a master's in social work, at gmail.com. L Quiros MSW at gmail.com. MSW for Masters of Social Work. I'm also a therapist. I meet with people that are depressed, stressed out, transgender people. I meet with a lot of people that are others, discriminated against.
Well, I want to thank you for your voice, for representing the others, for your literary work that your what is it, 3 books now? Two books. And please keep us informed in the status of your lawsuit, and if there's anything else that we can do to help either amplify this situation or, let everybody know what's going on.
Yeah, like get rid of the police commissioner who affected the case with no education or diversity. She admits it. And so it's a lot of other people,
Well, Luis, we want to tell you that as Mount Vernon residents, we can attest to the fact that Mamaroneck is not the only municipality in Westchester plagued by the appointment of unqualified individuals who have had no previous experience. We've had similar kind of issues in the city of Mount Vernon. So we're certainly sympathetic and supportive of your effort to try to professionalize policing in the city of Mamaroneck, and also to fight for justice for those who find themselves targeted and harassed by the police department there.
No, thank you, and I'm glad you didn't use the word police officer, individuals, because they're not police officers. But they wear uniforms doesn't make police officers. It doesn't do justice for those that died for the sake of justice.
Absolutely. Well, as one of our viewers said, want to thank you for all your vital work. Continue to fight, and we're here when you need us. Anything we can do to help you get the word out or assist you in your journey, please let us know.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you all. And someday, and I always say, what will cure the world? So when everybody in the planet recognizing that we're all others, and there's no such thing as one being better than the other, we are all others. When we recognize that we are all the other, then we've made it. Then we got peace.
Thank you very much for your time, sir.
Yes, Brother Quiros. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Gracias.
All right.
Gracias. You are now tuned into the People Before Politics radio show, brought to you by the good folks at
Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Check the newspaper. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Check the newspaper.
Real talk for the community since 2014. Yes. For those just tuning in, you are tuned into Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show. Every Sunday we're on from 6 to 8, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. That was our guest. Sometimes we have to get back to, as the show says, the people before the politics. You know, we're always talking to political candidates. We're always dealing with the politics, but it's important that we live up to our name and get back to the people. And there are many stories like this all across Westchester and New York State that we never hear. Many battles and struggles, people going through this that we never get to hear about. So, you know, we try to bring them up as often as possible as they come to us. As Luis said, him and Damon go back, so that's how we found out about this. Because had he and Damon not been in touch, I would never know that this was going on in Mamaroneck. You know, we cover a lot of the stuff going on in the municipalities, and I had no clue. Not that I put anything past anybody anywhere, but I had no clue that this stuff was going on right there in Mamaroneck. Dr. Bob.
Well, this is just consistent with a pattern of harassment, intimidation of community activists that we've seen recur all across the country and indeed intensify in the recent period that we find ourselves in now, where there seems to be an open battle between the forces of supporters of the status quo, supporters of the system of white supremacy in our society, and those who would seek to diversify it and to bring about a more multiracial democracy. So it really comes as no surprise, to be quite honest. Nevertheless, it is important that Black Westchester and other local media outfits highlight these kind of struggles so that we can begin to rally behind people like Luis, who are out there fighting the fight on a daily basis, trying to make sure that we have a more socially just society, both nationally and at the local level. So much, I want to say, because, I think we really have to commend Luis and others like him for taking a more active kind of stance in community affairs, though it is something that we've repeatedly harped on, the need for people to become more actively involved in the actual goings on within their society. I was reminded of this not too long ago, reading a op-ed in the New York Times by Ezra Klein that was provocatively entitled "Stephen Bannon Was Right," and the gist of the piece is that increasingly today Americans think that political involvement simply entails following the latest news stories. If you're informed, then apparently, for many people, you meet the definition of being a politically engaged person. And Klein focuses his column on a recent book that, basically the title is something like "Politics is for Power." And it takes more than just being passively informed citizens who sit on the sideline and watch the goings on in their local governments as if it's some sort of spectator sport, but instead they need to get involved. And I think Brother Quiros is really providing an example of what it means to be civically engaged, because it's very apparent from what he discussed that he's been involved in a number of different facets of the community of Mamaroneck for some time now. And so, I think there's valuable lessons from his story that we can all learn from.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I commend him as well. And again, we say this often on this show, politics is a participatory sport. You have to get involved, man. Like no one's going to give you what you want just because it's the right thing to do. Everything that we have ever gotten and ever earned, and any advancements we haven't ever made was because people fought for that. People fought hard for that. People died and bled for that. You know what I'm saying? We can't sit back and just watch, or we're going to go backwards. We're at a very critical point right now. We can either go backwards or we can continue to fight. Those people who fought in the past fought for their children and grandchildren to have these rights. And if we don't fight, you know what I'm saying? Our children and grandchildren won't have these rights. They will. There are forces trying to peel back all of these rights, and we have to fight for our children and grandchildren and those forth. We can't just rest on the laurels of what was done in the '60s. We have to pick up the we have to pick up the baton has been passed, and we have to pick it up and run with it. There's a couple of other shows I wanted to highlight. We're gonna one I was asked to moderate a town hall type discussion on racism in Greenberg, being put together by the Greenberg Human Rights. It will be moderated by myself and Tasha Young, who is a friend of the show, and it stems from, and if you've seen coverage of it, the town of Greenberg put up a sign that was one of the boldest statements put up in this county. Not just Black Lives Matter, but Black lives cannot matter until all lives matter. And within 24 hours, this sign was ripped out of the ground. And for another 100 to 200 days, they just, not only didn't they repair the sign, but they left the broken signpost sitting there as sort of a reminder that you had to drive by all day, as a reminder that Black lives do not matter in the village of Greenberg, in the town of Greenberg. So we're going to be discussing this. It's going to take place the end of Black History Month, I think the last Saturday possibly. It'll take place at the Greenberg Public Library. It'll probably be virtual or whatever. I'll be able to give you more details. I'm still in the planning meetings for that. And also many people in Greenberg have asked me to do a follow-up show on the Greenberg housing crisis, and the housing authority and what's going on with that as a follow-up. So we're going to get with the organizers over there, and we're going to be doing a second show. What I don't want to do is do a repeat of the first show. I want to take it, what has been done and hasn't been done since the last show. Holding people to task of what they said was going to be done. The Greenberg Housing Authority in the village, in the town of Greenberg, what they said they would do and what they haven't done since then. So I'm going to be getting with them, and we're going to be putting that together soon, between now and March. So we have a lot of stuff coming up, and with Damon working so much overtime, we might, last year for the elections series, Lorraine and I did a series called Super Tuesdays where we would interview candidates on Tuesdays. Damon and I will be doing something on some Friday nights. We'll be, in addition to the Sunday show, dealing with health and wellness and dealing with criminal justice reform and everything else. So look forward to that. I don't have any information on when the first one is going to be, but we're going to be adding that this year, and we might be bringing back, depending on how many candidates are running, we might be bringing back the Super Tuesdays where, so all the candidates don't take up our Sunday show. We're getting a lot of people trying to pop in. I don't know where they got the link from. This is the third person trying to pop in.
I don't think I did that this time, AJ.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know who shared the link, but I don't know who these people are, and they weren't invited, so I have not put them on. So anybody who tried to pop in and said, "Oh, they didn't bring me on the show," I didn't invite you, and I don't know how you got here, and I don't know who you are and why you wanted to come on. So I didn't put you on the screen. So anyway, that being said, the person just disappeared. So that being said, we got a lot of things coming up this year. Again, we're working on the Reggie Lafayette commemorative issue. Can you put that back on the screen again, Bob, if you don't mind, if you still have that? Mm-hmm. That'll be coming out later this week, celebrating the life and legacy of longtime Democratic leader Reggie Lafayette. Now, let me say, I wrote a couple of things, but let me just say it here on the show. Mr. Lafayette, we weren't always on the same side of particular issues, and even some candidates we were on opposing sides. I was often critical of some of the things that I thought he did or thought he shouldn't do, but that does not take away from his legacy. This man has a great legacy in politics, and he helped a lot of persons of color get into positions, especially a lot of people of color in on the bench and in the court system throughout Westchester, the city courts and the county court and even Supreme Court. He was well respected, as you will see from this issue. He wasn't just respected as in just Mount Vernon. He's Mount Vernon City Chair, and he wasn't just respected in Westchester. He was formerly the Westchester Democratic Committee Chair, and he was also the Board of Elections Democratic Chair. There were people from all over the state who sang his praises, from Senator Schumer to the governor, the current governor, and the lieutenant governor, and the AG, and several state, the state, New York State comptroller, and several people from around the state, spoke highly of him. A lot of people referred to him as a mentor. I will say this, though, a lot of what I learned about politics was from this man. Even when we were on opposing sides, when we first started this in 2014, and I was covering a couple of political cases, around elections in 2015, he pulled me to the side and was telling me some of the stuff to look for. And, at that time, we would be considered adversaries. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were very critical of the Democratic Party and the power structure at the time. So he had no reason to talk to me, but he still shared. He was a wealth of knowledge, and he never missed the opportunity to share it. And I've personally learned a lot from this man. And, we just want to celebrate his legacy. And then we're going to go. I've told you we're going to do this commemorative issue for the month of February, where we celebrate and highlight as many Black-owned businesses in the county of Westchester and the surrounding area. It's going to be called Black to Business. Of course, there is no way we will cover and highlight every business that exists, because I do not know every business that exists. But if you are a Black-owned business and you would like to be listed, and hit us at blackwestchester@gmail.com. If you have a favorite Black business that you patronize and you want to make sure that they get listed, hit us at blackwestchester@gmail.com. There's plenty of advertising opportunities left in there, but to be listed, it is free. It will be a free commemorative issue, sort of a directory type thing, listing all of the Black-owned businesses we can find in Westchester County and the surrounding areas. So, Dr. Bob, what's going on with you? We have some time here. We don't have a second guest. Any issues that you would like to discuss? Any updates? Anything that you're working on? Anything that hit your timeline that got your dandruff up that you'd like to discuss?
Well, I mean, for one, as we continue to make significant progress on the variety show that we've been organizing as part of the Rise Up grassroots nonprofit think tank that we've collaborated around on over the years. I should say we're looking forward to bringing to the stage. Let me step back. As most of our viewers know, we had to cancel last week's planned screening of The Killing of Kenneth Chamberlain, and we're going to be rescheduling that for a later date. In the month of February, we have two events that are on tap. Number one, we're going to be bringing to Mount Vernon our own homegrown visual artist, MC Kev, who AG, because you interviewed him recently.
And he will be in this issue that's coming out this week.
Yes, and MC Kev, there's also an article on MC Kev and his recent exhibition at an art gallery in Yonkers, whose name I cannot recall, and they're going to forgive me. But you and I went there. We thought it was a wonderful exhibition, and Kev was very generous with his time and did a full-length interview that people can find on Black Westchester. I believe it's on Black Westchester, along with the article that you wrote.
Yeah, the article will run. The article will run in the paper,
Okay.
and as soon as the paper runs, I will actually share the unedited full video of the interview
Okay.
on blackwestchester.com, which I have not shared just yet. I wanted to, I was saving that to do the print. I wanted the paper to hit first before you saw the video of the article, the interview.
And this gives me an opportunity, maybe if I could pull it up, AJ, for our viewers who haven't had the pleasure of seeing any of Kev's work. Okay. Hold on, I had it. I wanted to pull it up. And it'll give everyone a chance to come and see it in person. But let me see. Yeah, here we go. For those of our viewers who are not familiar with Kev's work, you can actually get a preview of some of the things that he's going to be bringing to the stage by going to his webpage, MC Creation 7, and you'll find an assortment of his recent artwork, and it's going to come up in a moment. AJ, I think you got to approve this.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So here we have a sampling, and this includes some of the artwork that was on exhibition at the art gallery. These are original, I believe, oil paintings that Kev has done. And in addition to his oil paintings, Kev also has a large number of print works, pencil works that he's done. And you can also see a sampling of some of the prints that he has for sale. He's going to bring both some of his most important oil paintings along with some of the pencil sketches that he's done. And we'll have a discussion of the inspiration behind his art, as well as his experiences coming up in the city of Mount Vernon at a time of tremendous challenges during the crack wave. Kev is not too much younger than me. He's maybe about 8 years or so younger than me. So he was part of that generational experience. And so he's going to be sharing all of that with us. On the, I believe the 19th of February. So I invite everyone. We're going to both do a live stream of the interview just in case, assuming that the library is open, which is currently not open because of health concerns brought on by the Omicron wave.
Yeah, Omarion's taking everybody out. Omarion.
Okay. So hopefully, if we're not able to convene in person, there is a possibility that we can screen it live, but we've got to consult with all of our personnel, including the library director and the community outreach coordinator, to make sure that that's possible. But in addition, currently we also have on tap for the month of February a follow-up lecture by Jeffrey B. Perry, who did the inaugural lecture as part of the Decipher series in August of 2020, where he did a presentation on the second of his 2-volume biography of Hubert H. Harrison, otherwise known as the Socrates of Black Harlem and the father of Harlem radicalism. He's going to come back to do the second of 3 lectures, and this one will focus on Hubert H. Harrison's philosophy of art and politics. Harrison is remembered today, amongst other things, for being one of the first modern art critics to regularly publish a culture and art column in the various publications that he was associated with, including Marcus Garvey's Negro World. So that's what's on tap for February. In addition, everyone,
what inspired me
to
do this piece.
Let me see if I can stop this. Okay.
Okay.
I found a brief video of one of his talking about one of his paintings, and I was trying to pull it up while you were talking about him, but if you don't mind, I'm gonna show it now. It's just brief.
Please. Yes.
Kev talking about hold hold on. Now we're having a problem bringing it up. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah. So as we wait for you to pull that up, in addition, I am pleased.
Bob, you still there? I think I'm having
Yes.
Wi-Fi issues.
Okay, everyone. So you can see that AJ is having Wi-Fi issues, and that means that I now have the host chair. So, as I was saying, everyone, I'm proud to say that me and the other organizers of the Decipher series, that includes AJ, Brother Jeff Moreau, Damon, Delia Farquharson, just to mention a few of the more prominent names that I can recall, are pleased to have a lineup of dynamic artists, authors, documentarians, filmmakers who have agreed to appear at the library every third Saturday at 1 o'clock through the month of June.
Taking your vigilante?
No.
Sound like
AJ?
it.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Somehow
I'm doing too much. I'm doing too
Yeah,
much.
you're doing a lot over there, baby. Calm down. Slow it down, baby.
I got videos in the background trying to pop up. So I'm like, yeah.
Did you find the video, Cap? So let me say, as you're still searching for the video, in the month of March, we're going to have the documentarian filmmaker Mina Simone, our sister from the village of from the town of Pelham, who is going to be screening a premiere of her documentary and work. This is Where Your Pain Lives, which revisits the experiences of Black diasporic women who were enrolled in schools over in Europe.
Yeah, that was actually great.
It is. I think it's a really visually engaging as well as insightful documentary discussion of what those experiences are like. We'll also have one of Mount Vernon's homegrown Native authors, Kip Joe Ewers, who is going to be sharing with us his series of of adult novels that he's put together, which creates for the first time one of the black dominated comic universe. Let's see. We're also finalizing discussions with Miss Irene Renee to come to the library to do a medley presentation of her works, perhaps for Black History. Perhaps for June in celebration of Juneteenth. We'll also have our man Corey Pegues, who was on last week, who is going to screen his movie Cops and Robbers, which is a sort of dramatization, if you will, of his life, moving from hustling in the streets with the Supreme Team to his rise as a high-ranking NYP executive. And then finally, everyone, last but not least, we've also lined up just this past week a presentation by one of Mount Vernon's most path-breaking scholars, Dr. Tyreen Wright, who is going to give a lecture on her revisionist study of Booker T. Washington, entitled Booker T. Washington and Africa, the making of an Afrocentrist, if I'm not mistaken, is the subtitle, where she's going to talk about the activities that Booker T. Washington undertook as part of his activist work in Africa in order to advance a more progressive policy and foreign policy. And Dr. Wright and I were talking about this the other day, and one of the examples that she cited in our discussion of the progressive work that Booker T. Washington did that often has gone overlooked was his efforts to get the Congress to pass what would be considered a very liberal immigration policy with respect to Africa. So it allowed African nationals, immigrants, to arrive to the United States in the 19th century, in the late 19th century, despite efforts of white supremacist forces to shut off the spigot of immigration from abroad, if you will. So
I got that. I got this. It comes straight on. It doesn't. So I was waiting for you to. I didn't want to interrupt you again.
Okay, so I'm sorry, AJ.
Oh no, I was just waiting because
Go ahead,
obviously, it comes. It just comes straight on. It doesn't like sit in the. This is MC Kev talking about one of the pieces of work he did and explaining what it is and what it was about.
What inspired me to do this piece, I was looking for a model to do something creative to. And when I came across a specific picture out of a magazine, I seen a woman and I didn't know who she was and I didn't want to use her likeness. And she wasn't the likeness that I was looking for, but she had that statuesque pose and the hairstyle was tribal. It gave it that goddess effect to me. So I said, okay, I want to do something with this pose and this look, but with my idea, my concept. So I created the skin tone for her and I started thinking about a design. I didn't want to do something typical like in Africa, how they have tribal designs with paint or whatever on their faces or whatever the case may have. I want to do something that represents the femininity of a woman. So much more represents that to me is pearls, you know, because pearls it represents femininity, it represents precious, and so to me that's the epitome of a woman. So I wanted to do a design with pearls on the body and the face of a woman, and I didn't want it to be any type of pearls. I wanted to show a design. So when you look at it, you see it's a butterfly.
Right. I'm just noticing that. I can
Because
see
butterflies are precious as well and beautiful, you know. And so I wanted that to represent on a face like a mask, and these are embedded in her skin along with the gold ones in her hair. And it just gave it a nice, unique, different look, and I haven't seen nothing like it. It's plain and simple. I strive to do things a little bit different and try to be creative, so when they see it, they can not only respect the artistry of it and the detail, they can respect my mind.
So that's you know, just a portion of, you know, one of when we first got there, before we actually sat down and did the sit down interview, I had him go in front of one or two of the his work that was being displayed and had him describe them, and that was one of the small clips of him describing a piece of work that he had created, and you'll see the whole thing in February for Black History Month. You know, him and his work and the interview and all that. So I see you brought something to the screen. When we pull it up.
Yeah. I was just going to say that Kev is really a up and coming, not merely an up and coming artist, but he really has begun to gain notoriety for his paintings. And recently he was commissioned by Mary J. Blige to do a stylized portrait of her. And you can see Mary and Kevin together when he presented her with his portrait. Just to give you a few insight into a few of the artistic details and touches, you can see the words in the background, and those are actually the titles of some of Mary's some of her hits. So, you know, it's a wonderful opportunity for people in the city of Mount Vernon and beyond to see the native homegrown talent that has been fostered by the city and the, you know, wonderful things that can be done. And so we're certainly hoping that people come out to join us, assuming that we get the green light to go forward with it.
You know, it's great. Kev, like Dr. Bob, like Corey Pegues, is a redemption story. Like, it's a story, you know, his story is a story like we all get caught up in certain things when we're kids. We got our youthful indiscretions, and we get caught up in the street life and everything. And some of us actually end up doing some time for it. But there's life after that, and he is an example of life after that. It doesn't have to be the end of your story. That doesn't have to define you. You don't have to be that for the rest of your life. You can, reinvent yourself. And that's exactly what he did. I mean, and in the interview, he talks about how art probably saved his life. Like art as a whole probably saved his life from continuing this path that he was on. That's an amazing thing. And I definitely want to share that story with our readers, especially for the young people, let them know, there's life after that. You don't have to be that. Even if that's the life that you got in for whatever reason, you can, one like Corey, get out of it. Or, even if you ended up doing time, when you come out, there can be a part two to your story. That does not have to be the end of your story. So, and Dr. Bob is a clear example of that. That doesn't have to be the end of your story. And I think it's important that Black Westchester show those stories and highlight those stories. Johnny Button is another one. I wrote the article. You can find it on Black Westchester, from prison to platinum. He has a car wash, platinum car wash, and he does so many other things. But, there's so many stories like that. But the mainstream media doesn't tell you these stories. The story is this person did this and they went to jail. And in the mainstream, that's the end of the story. But there's a second act for a lot of people who are doing a lot of good work. I mean, look at Malcolm X. Malcolm X started out with that life. There was a much bigger part of his story afterwards. So it's important that Black Westchester tell those stories and show those stories and recreate and change the narrative of our communities. So,
absolutely. And so the Decipher series is one of the vehicles through which we look to do this, in addition to stories that you'll find on the page of Black Westchester and broadcast on People Before Politics. You can get more in-depth presentations, discussions with all the guests who are going to be part of the Decipher series. The general format is a presentation that focuses on their work, followed by a Q&A where you get an opportunity to talk in more detail about the guest's personal life and the inspiration behind their work and how it relates to the broader struggles that Black people have experienced here in the United States and abroad, and also the particular historical moment that we find ourselves in, which I think all recognize as a critical juncture in American history.
No doubt. Oh, so also in the news, you may have read in Black Westchester or seen in the national news, Congressman Jamal Bowman was arrested when he joined protesters that were protesting for voters' rights. When the Senate was supposed to take that vote, and I guess it didn't go through, and they were protesting for a couple of days. On the last day, Congressman Jamal Bowman joined them, and he was arrested. And one of the things, in my talking to him behind the scenes after it happened, it was that surprised him the most. He was like, they actually use handcuffs. Well, a lot of those situations on him and the other protesters, well, a lot of times they use those zip ties. So they actually use the metal handcuffs on the congressman, which you don't see often. And when they have those protests, you usually see they zip tie everybody. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that was on purpose or what that was, but that was one of the things that, so there's, the story of him being arrested. And the next day we put out his statement where he discussed it. You can find that on the front page of blackwestchester.com.
Right. Which is just Congressman Bowman's recent arrest for protest activities, I think, is a reminder to us all about the need to become more engaged with the movements that are now underfoot, to try to put pressure on the Congress and especially the Senate to take some sort of action to begin to reverse the growing wave of voter suppression bills that have sought to that have been passed by legislators all across, state legislators also all across the United States, that are looking to impose more restrictive measures, whose voting, the outcome of which is almost certain to bring down the total number of voters, and thereby give Republicans an institutional advantage by essentially selecting who their voters are, as opposed, as you like to say, AJ, having their voters select them.
Right.
There are, anyone who is skeptical about the need to raise their voice and insist that the Congress take some sort of steps should be reminded that recent revelations in our national newspapers indicate that there was a very serious, sophisticated plan underway in the last election on the part of President Trump and his most high-ranking supporters, both in his campaign and in the federal bureaucracy itself, to use various kind of machinations to essentially overturn the last election. I'm sure our listeners are aware of the documentary evidence that was uncovered this past week, which indicated that there was an attempt in 7 states, Michigan, Arizona, Georgia, are ones that immediately come to mind, to replace the duly appointed electors for then President-elect Joe Biden, with a slate of electors who would have cast votes for President Trump. From the reports that have been discussed in the national media, all the evidence suggests that this may have been a violation of both state and federal laws prohibiting the forging of legal instruments. We've seen some of this at the local level. There was also the report of a draft executive order on the part of the Trump administration that would have authorized the armed services here in the United States. I don't know which branch, but to actually seize voting machines in the wake of the 2020 election, and would have instituted a 60-day cool-off period, purportedly for the purpose of doing a forensic analysis of the kind that has been conducted across states for the past year, without any definitive evidence of corruption. And so those are really unprecedented.
I think in one state, didn't they went through all of this in one of the states, and they only found a few incidences of ballots being messed with, and they were for Trump. It wasn't even them for Biden. So he ended up canceling a couple of his own votes in all of this.
I mean, these recounts that the various state Republican parties have insisted upon are really unprecedented, at least in modern American political history. But more importantly and more frighteningly is the all the evidence that's uncovered that showed that President Trump undertook a sophisticated campaign to recruit federal agencies, the U.S. Department of Justice, our defense establishment, and also the Office of Legal Counsel, to do his bidding in an effort to get the election overturned, or at least to call into question the outcome so that he could possibly throw it to the House of Representatives to ultimately decide. So that's, I think, an important piece of news. And that's the background for understanding why Congressman Bowman took the unusual move of putting his own body on the line as part of protests to try to persuade the Senate in particular to pass voting reforms.
Let me just say something too. So I saw a lot of comments and a lot of feedback from his making a stance and being arrested. Some were very flattering, applauding the congressman for his bold movements, and some were basically saying what was it all about? Like, it ain't gonna change nothing. Let me just say, there's a lot of ways. I think that's what we have to get to in this community, in our community. There is not just one way to fight this thing, and we have to fight it on many different fronts, and attack this problem from many different efforts, many different sides. And as a standing elected congressman, we need some of our elected officials to take those kind of movements, some of our strong Black leaders to step up and take that. But that alone is not going to do it. It needs to be, it needs the work that we're doing. It needs the work of the protesters. It needs the ones, the ones that are lobbying for legislation to be changed. We have to fight this from all ends. So, we got to stop attacking each other because someone else is trying a different thing or doing something that maybe you wouldn't do. And I just want to say that, to everybody out there that's watching now or who will watch this later, let me be clear, this work is not for the weak at mind. This is not for the weak at heart. You know what I'm saying? And there's steps you need to take. I remember getting out of a car. We was about to go somewhere to protest, and Bob was like, yo, make sure you have your ID with you. And he was pointing out certain things. And Cynthia, who does a lot of protesting, was like, she made another good suggestion. She's like, one of the first things they do, they take away all your stuff, like your phone. So write your lawyer's name on your hand.
Right.
Because when you go to make your call, a lot of people don't know the lawyer's number by heart. You don't have your phone to like pull up lawyer. You know what I'm saying? So write one of the things you can do. Make sure your papers are straight. Make sure, because you're going to get arrested. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you are straight when you are going to get arrested. I wouldn't advise people that might have warrants. I wouldn't advise people that, got a couple of things going on. They might not be the people that need to be out front getting arrested for things like this. But if you are going to make that move, you need to take certain steps, like writing your lawyer's number on your hand, either in permanent marker or something, so that when you get arrested, when you are able to make that phone call, you can just read it off your hand. You don't have to try to figure out the number. You won't have your phone with you. And there's other steps. You just don't go into it all willy-nilly. You got to go into it. Like in the 60s, they knew they were going to get arrested. They knew they were going to get arrested, and they came in waves where there were so many people arrested. They had to start letting people go because they couldn't even. There was too many people for the jails. You know what I'm saying? So they all. We just gotta. You have to be strategic, and when you're doing that, and again, that is not for everybody. I want to welcome. I see a couple of people. Gordon Tarrant, I believe is Pat English from Strong Island. Terrence Rock, Rhonda Kinsley. Donna Jackson from Mount Vernon, Robert Brown Jr., all tuned in. So I wanted to say what's up. And those who left comments earlier, Patty Dukes, Michelle Brown, I don't know if they're still turned in, Percy Call, Strong Island, Diane Atkins, and everybody else who's tuned in or was tuned in. Thank you for tuning in. Those are the people on Facebook. Thank you for everybody tuning in. I'm seeing in the comment section, we got people tuning in from YouTube, and I'm getting alerts from some people tuning in from LinkedIn. So yes, you can find the show on the Black Westchester YouTube channel, and you can also find it on a LinkedIn channel for those of you who everybody doesn't mess with Facebook. So that's why we did that. We broadcast on other mediums outside of Facebook. So you can still catch the show. And of course, it will be archived on blackwestchester.com afterwards. As you can hear, maybe, I don't know if you can hear, I think my sinuses are acting up. I'm congested all up in here. I don't know if you can hear that. But if so, I apologize, but I'm a little congested. So,
Well, we hope you aren't feeling too under the weather, AJ, and you have a speedy recovery, brother.
Nah,
you know what that means, man. You need to consult with Damon. He's gonna tell you how to whip up a home remedy.
Yeah.
Where D at? Tell D to get on, man. We need that.
Yeah. He
prescribed some Burke root or whatever it is.
Yeah, he was running all
Hold
day.
his seal.
Yeah, he was running all day and hadn't even gotten to sleep yet, and they got to work tonight, so
okay, gotcha.
He didn't pop on. So shout to my brother from another. Yes, check out his book, and make sure you order it and support this brother and the efforts he's doing and trying to educate people on eating healthy and detoxing and cleansing and the importance of all of that. Which is something that I'm working on. It's a journey for me. But it does, if you're gonna do this work, you have to be healthy to do this work. Like whatever you're gonna do, you have to be healthy. You have to be around to be able to do the work. You know what I mean? And you have to clear your mind. You got to clean your mind, clean your body. You got to be healthy to be able to walk this walk. So you can be around long enough to do it. So I'm working on my little journey. You can see if you follow my Instagram page, you'll see some of my food porn, my salads and fruits and stuff. And I try to post it as often as possible. My roasted vegetables with the grilled shrimp and all that stuff. So, I'm trying to, and a lot of people, it's funny because a lot of people is encouraging a lot of people, because a lot of people hit me back and be like, yo, man, that looked good. I want a salad now. Or, you know what I'm saying? That like, yo, I'm going to get something like that. Or, yo, you're encouraging me to change my food, change my diet around. Like, so I do that to help, because it's a struggle. It's like, yo, don't get it twisted. If you ate junk all your life and you haven't really treated your body right, now you have to change your whole mind and everything. It don't happen overnight. And there's going to be times where, around the holidays, reminder of losing my parents and stuff like that, you might eat a little more, comfort food. You might go through something, but you don't beat yourself up during those times. You just pick up and start over. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. So, I had to get like that. I lost some weight and I, kind of found it again. You know what I'm saying? So I'm working on getting back on got my little Fitbit, got me doing my steps and everything. And
yes, and you count them hourly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because it's a thing like I mean, I'm not the only person like with this home, working at home, and for all of us that do this and we work out of the house, like, doing this, I could be on the computer. I could be sitting at the computer in my chair like 3, 4, 5, 6 hours straight without moving. And, your legs start getting a little stiff when you do too much of that. And, there's the Fitbit, it just actually beat me just now. It hits me like 10 to the end of the hour if I haven't done at the minimum of 250 steps or more that hour. So it'll hit you, like it hit me like 3 minutes ago to let me know how many steps I need to do before the hour's over. You know what I'm saying? So it gets you up and moving more each hour, as many hours as possible. So you're not just sitting all day. Like I could be sitting, doing this, writing stories on the phone, editing video on the phone, and like, yo, like you could be just like not moving for hours. That shit kicks in for a minute. That is not healthy. That kills you. You know what I'm saying? Like that, your bones get stiff, and then it's harder to move. And that commercial, a body in motion stays in motion, a body not in motion stays not in motion. It's like it works the opposite way too. So some of the things I'm working on, I'm trying to be transparent. Since I have this forum and share my journey. Not telling anybody else what to do, but for those who want to do something different, and inspire somebody else to maybe step up to do something for themselves, So anyway, enough of that. Go pick up Damon's book. And but my sinuses is something I've had all my life. I've always had sinus. On certain times of the year, it's like all of this is congested. Like it's just, I can feel it all up in here right now. So I'll take me a Zyrtex in a minute, and I'll be good.
We're gonna edit this part out so Damon doesn't see it.
I mean, yo, thank you, my brother, Don Figure. Keep inspiring. us fam. This is my brother, from back in the high school days of Mount Vernon. One of the first, I had belonged to a few different crews. It was one of the crews I belonged to. We was MCing, doing our thing and routines, and they was a tight little crew, that we used to do our thing.
Okay.
So shout out to my brother Don Figure.
Yes, to the Don Dada.
Shout out to my brother. Shout out to my brother in rhyme, B Love William Taylor. Again, I think I mentioned it last week because I just came back. I just got back from his house, like just in time to do the show last week. Right. We lost our dads 94 days apart. You know what I'm saying? So like after he was there, he lived in Atlanta now, the Atlanta area. So he was there for me big time for when it was time to lay my dad to rest. And then 94 days later, you know what I'm saying, it was his dad. So, I had to run out to Strong Island to Central Islip. You know what I'm saying? To be there for him. And you see, we had a little fun, did perform the song and, had a little fun and take his mind off it. And we had some JVC fun and, for all of y'all that seen it, it's on my page. So, shout out to my brother. Yeah. Don said, I appreciate you guys, fam. No doubt. Appreciate you, my brother.
Absolutely.
So another thing, check on your peoples. Check on your peoples. I was reading somewhere and I don't remember, some senior passed away and nobody checked on that person for like 2-3 days. They was dead in their apartment. Like, check on your seniors. If they live around you, check on your seniors and your family. There's too many people just living by themselves and they're going through all this stuff. Shout out to brothers that hold it down, like Ken Bright, who was always doing stuff to provide food and clothing and stuff for all of those in need, and he holds it down and he does his thing every week. And we're gonna highlight him again. We had did something on him. We're gonna do something. We're gonna bring him on the show one day and highlight all the things that he's doing. He's one of the unsung heroes in Mount Vernon that is really holding it down. And we have so many in the Black community that you don't get to see. You don't realize what they're doing, and they what they're doing is so inspiring. So I want to give him a shout out. We definitely he's somebody, friend of me and Bob's. Definitely want to bring him on the show soon and showcase him and spotlight him on all the great work that he's doing. We'll do more of that this year too. Getting back to why we started Black Westchester, to highlight the unsung heroes, the people that have been holding it down in our communities forever. And you don't know their names and they don't get publicity and, no camera crews is coming around. You know what I'm saying? Occasionally an elected official wants to be seen, so they'll take pictures with them or whatever, but you don't never see them after that. But the brother's there every week, a couple of times a week for people in need, definitely big in helping people, and help end recidivism. And he does a lot of work. So we definitely want to spotlight him.
Attending to the concrete needs that people have in the city of Mount Vernon. And so Ken is definitely to be applauded for that work.
No doubt. So shout out to all the unsung heroes. You know who you are. Y'all don't do it for the camera. Y'all don't do it for the fame. Y'all don't do it, to take pictures. Like, you got a lot of people that do stuff and, they clicking, and they taking pictures for their Instagram page. But cats like this, men and women like this, they do it every day and they don't be taking pictures and they don't do it for Instagram and they're not doing it for likes or on social media. They just do the work because it's necessary. And those are the people we need to highlight. Those are the people we need to celebrate, not these people that's on social media that got all these following that just do things and take pictures. We need to follow the people that got boots on the ground every day. So shout to all the unsung heroes and sheroes out there in the Black community that hold us down and help make our communities better and help a lot of us just get through. Word up.
Absolutely.
With that, we coming to the close of the show. Dr. Bob, any last words?
I want to thank all the viewers for tuning in tonight. It's good to talk with Luis Quiros and you, brother AJ. And, look forward to seeing everyone on air again next week.
No doubt, no doubt. I am so glad that you got that brother's name down, because I was like, I knew I was going to mess it up. Oh, and I don't get to say this enough. My New York Knicks won today.
Oh, shucks. Where the hat at, AJ? Where the hat?
Yeah, it's across the room. My
Gotta
Knicks
be round. Man, I'm surprised you ain't got the sweatshirt jacket on right now.
My New York Knicks won.
Might even have pom-poms knowing you, man.
They won today, and they won end to end. They were winning the whole game. Like they was wasn't winning. Yeah. I mean, the other team, the Clippers, they had a few people out, but they still held it down. And then Barrett and Randall, they both held it down 20 plus each of them, and that's what you need. And they got to get it together, because they won 3 games. It's just what happens with them. They won 3 big games, and then they lose the next 3 games. You know what I'm saying? Like they killed me. Like so. And the amazing thing is they're 1 game behind where they were this time last year. So shout to my New York Knicks. Oh, another shout out. We're celebrating Black business. Shout out to Grind 14. I got the sweatshirt on. Grind 14. They do a lot of say Westchester on the sleeve. Shout out to my man Shock. Shout out to Grind 14. They've done a lot of our shirts and stuff. The People Before Politics shirt, Keeping It 100, they did that one. And they did the DMX. When we did with the DMX cover, they did the shirt with the DMX cover on it. And they've done a couple other shirts. But check out Grind 14. You find it online, Grind14 spelled out .com. And support local. They out of Yonkers. Support local brothers and sisters, Black-owned businesses. They hold it down, and that's they one of our sponsors. They hold us down a lot. So I definitely am rocking the sweatshirt, and I wanted to shout them out tonight.
Let me give our listeners a reminder that if there are any that we'll be doing a special issue devoted to Black businesses in honor of Black History Month. And if you have know of businesses that you would like to see at least listed, be sure to send AJ an email at blackwestchester@gmail.com. Is it AJ?
Yes. Robert says, hand up, paid forward, founder and CEO, whom you met, would make an excellent future guest. Robert, send me info, contact info, everything at blackwestchester@gmail.com. And then he said Marcus Knight. I guess that's who the CEO is, Marcus Knight. Robert, send me all the information. Everybody, I've done that before. I said this year, I want to know who you want to see us interview on People Before Politics. So send us an email at blackwestchester@gmail.com with people that you would like to see us interview and why. Go ahead, Bob.
I wanted to say, look, everyone, you're all aware of the crisis of local newspapers that has really afflicted the United States over the past several decades and can be measured in the dramatic decline in local newspapers. Black Westchester, founded by AJ and Damon, is part of the effort to revitalize local newspapers. And one of the new models that community-based newspapers are converging on is a more crowdsourced model that has viewers and listeners offer suggestions, recommendations for stories. And so,
community engagement.
Yeah, this is basically, everyone, a one-show operation.
We didn't do this just for us. We did this for you. This is your show. We need you all to be engaged.
Absolutely, and I know AJ welcomes input, suggestions from the viewers and listeners, because we talk about it all the time. Strategies that we can use to engage you and get more input. So please take them up on offer. Take us up on offer to highlight those Black businesses that might otherwise go overlooked, and give us their contact information so they can be featured in next month's newspaper.
So again, do not hit me in the comment section now. Email us at blackwestchester@gmail.com. Once I close this, I'm not going to see all of these comments. Send if you want to make sure that I see it, send it to blackwestchester@gmail.com with whatever is in the subject. You know, guests I'd like to see on your show, or black business. I'm a black business owner, or black businesses we want to see covered. Put that in the subject so I see it right away, and I will have it in my inbox. With that, that's it, yo. We out till next week. Again, look for the forum. I'll have more information. The forum on racism in Greenberg, we will be doing. Tasha Young and I will be moderating. I will have much more when they have a flyer and everything. I will share it. And we're going to do a part 2 to the Greenberg housing crisis, what's going on with the Greenberg Housing Authority. And then like topics like that you want to see us get engaged about, email us. Let us know what's going on in your city. What issues should we be tackling in your city? Because there's something going on everywhere. There's all these cities have something going on that maybe is not in the media and people don't know. So if you need to highlight, you know, it's a tragedy going on in your communities, so discrimination, whatever it is, retaliation, whatever it is, make sure you hit us at blackwestchester@gmail.com. With that said, you tuned into Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show. You could be doing anything else, but you decided to ride with us, and we greatly, greatly appreciate it. Until next week, peace.
22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.